Chapter 6, your passive income vehicle, double-digit ROI. Most people don't have it in them to buck the system. By and large, we are a nation of people who will follow the rules and do what we're told. I certainly didn't question the conclusion that college and a full-time desk job was the path to happiness, or at least to adulthood. I just did what I was expected to do. Society and my dad told me to get a degree, so that's what I was faithfully doing. The rules also said I needed to get a job that may or may not be torture. Did it matter to me if I hated it? Heck no. What was important was that it provided a stable paycheck and maybe health benefits. I'll just keep my head down, and in 40 years or so, there's a chance I'll have enough to retire as long as I don't live too long after that. Then I met 3 extraordinary people. Let's call them Bill, Bob, and Beth. Bill, Bob, and Beth had fancy stuff. They lived in nice houses. They drove expensive cars. I was in awe and could hardly imagine what it must be like to have possessions other people admired. At the time, I drove a 1993 Subaru Justy. Google it for a super good laugh. But here's the real kicker. Bill, Bob, and Beth also seemed to be getting the most out of their most valuable asset. It looked like they had all the time in the world. If Bill felt like spending a day on the lake, he loaded up his boat and went on the water. If Bob wanted to spend a day riding his Harley, he grabbed his helmet, fired up the hog. And if Beth wanted to have a girls' lunch and spend the rest of the afternoon at the spa with her closest friends, she made a few phone calls and was on her way. What did these folks have in common besides enjoying every day to the fullest? At the time, Bill, Bob, and Beth had each made over $10 million in real estate, which afforded them the flexibility and opportunity to enjoy such an extraordinary lifestyle. Were they just lucky, or could anyone experience that same success? I wasn't sure, but I was ready to find out, and that's how I first caught the real estate bug. Guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more real estate. When I met those successful real estate heavy hitters, I was making a scant $18,700 a year working a full-time job that I loathed. But I had also started formulating my roadmap and had worked diligently to amass $5,000 in savings, even though I didn't have a life insurance bank account yet. Reserve in hand, I went hunting for my first property. And with a mentor's guidance, I bought a home valued at $150,000 for just $110,000. I closed on the house, wholly consumed with feelings of terror, excitement, and pride. I invested less than $4,000, a 3% down payment, which is still common today, and was officially the newest player in the real estate game. Instantly, that $4,000 increased my net worth to $40,000, a tenfold return. I went from a negative to a positive net worth with a few strokes of a pen. What an exhilarating feeling. Even better, I rented out the basement of our new home for $550 a month, which covered the entire mortgage. My wife and I were now living rent-free with our monthly mortgage payment completely paid for by our basement dwellers. The excitement of it all encouraged us to want to do it again, and again, and then again and again. Whoa, devil's advocate. You got lucky, Kris. Try doing that in today's economy. Sorry, but that's just an excuse, and frankly, not a very original one. I have thousands of students following this exact strategy today because it worked then, and guess what? It's working now. 12 months after my first purchase, I got an $18,900 home equity line of credit, a HELOC, on the property. If you aren't familiar with a HELOC, it's like a credit card tied to your home's equity. Because it's a secured loan, a loan with which you pledge some asset as collateral, the interest rate is substantially lower than those associated with unsecured debts like traditional credit cards. I used this credit line to buy my next house through a bank foreclosure worth over $210,000 that I acquired for just $150,000. The monthly mortgage payment on that new property would be $1,000 a month. I decided to do a rent-to-own or a lease option based on another mentor's advice. I found a family willing to pay $3,000 as a down payment, common with a lease option, and then pay $1,600 a month for rent. This amount was $300 higher than it would have been if it was just a traditional rental. Just like that, I was making an additional $600 every single month. $1,600 of rent, less the $1,000 of mortgage payment. Add the $600 a month cash flow to the $550 we were collecting each month from renting out our own basement, and I felt pretty darn good about the investments I was making. Not to mention, my total net worth was now over $100,000 between the two properties. Whoa. What is a lease option? Well, when I purchased my second property, I offered it as a rent-to-own or a lease option based on one of my other mentors' recommendations. This is leasing a home with an option for the tenant to buy it. One of the most obvious benefits of this option is you can collect a higher monthly rent than with traditional rentals. In this example that I gave you, I was earning $300 more a month than a standard rental agreement. My mentor explained that this strategy, compared to a straightforward rental, can be twice as profitable while creating a valuable benefit for the investment home's family. Your tenants can work towards buying the house rather than just renting it. I used this lease option strategy with my first 25 homes, and it provided over $12,000 a month of residual income. This cash flow allowed me to quit my job, multiply my portfolio, create greater cash flow from higher ROI investments, and live the good life. I wrote a book documenting this entire do-it-yourself strategy called The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. You can visit kriskrohn.com/book to grab a copy. All right, let's get back to the story. My monthly income from my full-time job was just over $1,500. Without taking a second job or working double shifts, I had just added $1,150 to my bottom line every month. After just 2 real estate transactions, my monthly income increased close to 75%, but required virtually no additional time. Needless to say, I was completely hooked. Well, my wife came to me one day asking for a bit of clarification. Hey, Kris, I'm not sure where this extra $600 belongs on our budget spreadsheet. And I thought for a minute, okay, well, I guess we need to create a new job income line called real estate income. What have you been doing, by the way, with the other $550 of rent that we're getting on our own property? Glenn responded, well, I've been aggressively paying down our debt. And I responded, it's probably a good idea for us to create 2 extra line items for the income category. I was totally caught off guard when she asked me with a smile, so when can we buy our next house? A new property meant hundreds of extra passive dollars every month to help us get out of debt more quickly. And Glenn wanted more. And frankly, so did I. I'll never forget how elated I felt working as a team to create an aggressive plan for achieving our financial freedom. We decided that day that with an extra $10,000 residual dollars of income every month, I would no longer need to work a traditional job. And to meet that goal, I needed around 20 properties, with each of them producing around $500 a month. Now, here's the simple math so that you can look at it and figure this out. For me to produce a passive income of $10,000, and if I were averaging $500 on each house, well, $10,000, the goal income, divided by $500, what I needed per house, equals 20 rental homes that I would need to reach that goal. I had specific income and time goals, and now I knew what it would take to achieve them. Dun, 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 devil's advocate once again. But Kris, I'll never be able to get my spouse or partner on board. Spouses offer that all-important stabilizing opinion. Their perspectives can keep you from either being too aggressive or too conservative. Just remember that you may have decided to invest because you gain the knowledge it takes to have confidence in your decision. Respect your spouse by offering them the same. Give them the gift of knowledge by helping them understand the why behind your plan. Come to them with real numbers and reasonable expectations. Don't be pie in the sky about it, because that's going to lead to disappointment and an erosion of trust. I wanted my wife's support, and I eventually got it. She was terrified at first, but after the first 2 homes, she felt more confident in me and the plan. In the beginning, I simply asked her to trust me and to take a leap. Still, I would have made the real estate decisions I did with or without her confidence. I had simply determined it was the best way to fulfill my promises to her. I took a risk, but I did so intelligently. And I wasn't alone. I had mentors who guided me, Having a subject matter expert with a proven track record, watching diligently, makes up the difference for what you may lack. Gain the knowledge you need, enlist the help of the right mentors, and that is how you simultaneously honor your partner and your goals. The science and speed of real estate investing. In case it isn't obvious, what we've been talking about so far is the next step in the financial freedom roadmap. It's the second vehicle in the fleet, your double-digit ROI sports car. Let's review our roadmap and where the real estate fits in on the path to financial freedom. As you'll learn in this chapter, cash flow from real estate becomes passive income that you can use to reinvest or fund your lifestyle. When executed properly, it can consistently and predictably provide you with solid double-digit ROIs. This sports car was the original investment vehicle that enabled me to ride on the fast track to wealth accumulation at a young age. I went to work finding 20 properties that would produce at least $500 a month in cash flow, and within a few years, I said goodbye to the cubicle life forever. I became financially free using this double-digit ROI vehicle, and we haven't even gotten to the triple-digit ROIs and beyond. Real estate has the potential to be a robust wealth foundation as long as you leverage it correctly. This vehicle allows you to put money down and sit back and watch it generate a cash flow when done correctly. One of the key words I don't want you to miss is potential. It's definition time. Potential. Adjective, comma, noun. The inherent ability or capacity for growth, development, or future success that has not yet been reached. Going back to science again, roll your eyes if needed, let's talk about potential energy in physics. Potential energy is the stored energy an object has because of its position or state. A few examples are a bicycle on a hill, a person at the top of the stairs, and a coiled up spring not yet released. These are all things that have what it takes to exhibit great power or movement, but haven't used their potential yet. This energy is often contrasted by kinetic energy. Potential energy is stored energy, while kinetic energy is the energy of motion or doing. When potential energy is used, it's then converted into kinetic energy. You can think of potential energy as kinetic energy waiting to happen. When it comes to your wealth roadmap, the potential energy of your plan is represented by two things. Number one, the accumulation of savings in that single-digit ROI reserve vehicle. And two, the proper knowledge required to earn sizable ROIs, or in other words, knowing where to invest your money. Without the proper knowledge, the potential energy found in your reserves will be wasted. Almost every person I talk to easily understands the idea that it takes money to make money. However, the critical ingredient most miss in the potential energy equation is the proper knowledge aspect. Instead, most people lose their potential by allowing their misguided fears based on a lack of information to rob them of their momentum. Suppose that you are mistrustful of real estate investing because of horror stories that you've heard or hesitations that you have about market fluctuations. If that's the case, I understand because I've heard and felt them too. But while investing in real estate can be intimidating, most people don't fail because of the market or a bad deal. They fail because they're missing the essential ingredients, the proper knowledge. The absolute fastest way to gain the knowledge you need is by partnering with a mentor who has made all the mistakes. And as a result, he or she has figured out the most direct path to investing success. Why would anyone want to reinvent the real estate investing wheel? Find the right mentor who can walk you through it all properly, shorten the time horizon by leveraging the knowledge of others. That's why I'm here. I will remove the guesswork and provide the knowledge you need. This isn't magic or luck. There is a precision and a science to it, just as there is to every other consistent and reliable income-producing endeavor on the planet. All right, let's take the devil's advocate angle on this. Listen, Kris, I'm not interested in becoming a landlord. Taking calls from frustrated tenants and chasing after my rent sounds like a nightmare. I'm not signing up for any late-night trips to the hardware store because a tenant's toilet sprung a leak. Listen, this is not just a plan for becoming a full-time landlord. It's really about using the strategy that takes the least time, the least effort, and the least risk while producing the most profit. Later in the chapter, we'll discuss two different ways to invest. Relax in the knowledge that not all real estate paths lead to Home Depot. To further help you understand how to leverage real estate as a means of guaranteeing financial freedom, it's time to cover 3 critical components to your real estate knowledge base. Number 1, the 7 most dynamic benefits of investing in real estate. 2, the 6 criteria for property selection. And 3, the number 1 strategy for building a passive portfolio. Potential energy ingredient number 1, the 7 benefits of real estate investing. Most people don't understand just how profitable real estate can be. And I get it. On the surface, making multiple 5- and 6-figure purchases on mostly borrowed money can be more than a little intimidating. The good news is that there are 7 specific benefits of investing in real estate that make the decision to invest the obvious choice. If you leverage these benefits, you will consistently produce double-digit ROIs and make as much passive income as your heart desires. Let's do a quick dive into each benefit and see them in action. Number 1, appreciation. Owning a rapidly growing tangible asset. The amount of land that exists today on Earth is the same amount of land that will exist tomorrow. There is no way to create more land, although they did build islands from scratch in the shape of a palm tree off the coast of Dubai, but that's kind of one of those wild and crazy exceptions, definitely not the rule. As a result of the fixed nature of land, property value increases over time. More people vying for the same amount of land means higher values year after year. And just by owning a home, it appreciates by an average of 4.68% every year. Let's take a look at appreciation in action. Let's say for a moment that you buy a $200,000 home in a market that is appreciating at 5% a year. That 5% on $200,000 is equivalent to $10,000 a year. And that increase will continue to compound year after year. With simple interest alone, that same home will be worth $250,000 after 5 years. Your net worth will have increased by $50,000 just by owning that property. Now imagine having 20 houses of the same value. In 5 years, your net worth will have increased by over $1 million. Benefit number 2, cash flow, building a powerful residual income. The cash flow from real estate represents the amount of money left after paying all your bills from collected rent. If you purchase property correctly, there should always be leftover money. I call this cash flow your freedom dollars because the more you accumulate, the less you need to work for your money because that money starts working for you. Let's take a look at cash flow in action. If you buy a home and rent it for $1,500 a month, but your mortgage and all your expenses are only $1,100 a month, you're now generating $400 a month of cash flow in the form of a residual income. Benefit number 3, leverage control, earning high ROI on the bank's money. Producing high ROIs in real estate is possible because of the leverage that banks provide. If you have $50,000 in cash, you can only buy $50,000 worth of stocks. There is zero leverage in that transaction. However, with real estate, $50,000 in cash can purchase $250,000 worth of real estate. And that's because banks will allow you to leverage on average $5 for every $1 that you invest. Your returns are 5 times greater because of leverage. This leverage is a critical part of how we can get to a minimum 25% ROI through real estate investing. Let's take a look at leverage control in action. A great deal on a single family home in a good cash flow area hits the market at $200,000. The bank requires a 20% down payment of $40,000 to buy this home. If the home increases 10% in value, it's now worth $220,000. That $20,000 increase came from a $40,000 investment. In this illustration, that's a 50% ROI on this benefit alone. Benefit number 4, tax benefits, writing off and deferring capital gains. Can you imagine earning an income but paying no taxes on that money? That's what happens when you purchase real estate the right way. You see, you're legally allowed to depreciate an asset over 27.5 years, which produces a massive tax write-off. Typically, this write-off cancels out all the taxes on the positive cash flow you earned that year, with additional write-offs remaining. Even though you're showing a positive cash flow, the depreciation and interest expenses cancel that income. The end result is that you have more money in your pocket, but you don't owe any of that money to the government. The wealthy understand this benefit and therefore work to max out their real estate holdings. Let's take a look at tax benefits in action. You earned $5,000 in positive cash flow in a single year on a rental worth $220,000. The US government allows you to write off that $220,000 over 27.5 years, which comes out to $8,000 a year. Or in other words, with your calculator, if you take $220,000 and divide it by 27.5 years, that's how we get to that $8,000 annual write-off amount. The $8,000 write-off first cancels out the $5,000 that you collected as a positive cash flow, with $3,000 in depreciation write-offs left over to lower your other income. This allows you to pay even less in taxes. So you pocket $5,000 tax-free, and you don't have to pay taxes on another $3,000 that you made elsewhere. You're getting wealthier with cash in hand while enjoying extra tax write-offs. Let me help you further understand the power of depreciation. Let's just say for a moment that you own a business, because by the way, if you get in the game of real estate, that is a business. And let's say that that business needs a computer. Did you know that the IRS has already predetermined that that computer is going to wear out after 5 years? And as a result, they let you take the entire cost of the computer and write it off at basically 20% or 1/5 of the cost for each of the 5 years. Well, the IRS has determined that most parts in a house need to be replaced within 27.5 years. So basically, they let you take the total cost of the property and write off a 27th of it each year. Real estate benefit number 5, market resilience, earning high ROIs across market conditions. Real estate comes in all shapes and sizes, ranging from single-family homes to apartments, commercial real estate, raw land, and more. Most real estate sectors see their value negatively impacted during a recession. However, entry-level single-family homes priced below the national median, more on that later, are the most recession-proof type of real estate. Let's take a look at market resilience in action. Take a look at the projected potential decrease in home values during a recession. The most expensive homes lose a significant amount of their value, maybe as much as 50%, while homes below the median lose notably less. For example, a $200,000 home might lose 9% by comparison. This demonstrates why properties at or below median values allow for the most remarkable market resilience. Let me explain this further by talking about what can happen to home values during a recession. A $1 million home can decrease to perhaps $500,000 in value, meaning losing half of its value during a really bad recession. But a $500,000 home might only decrease to $300,000 in value. Then you have a $300,000 home that might decrease to only $200,000 in value. And now you have a $200,000 home that might only decrease to $180,000 in value. And a $180,000 home might only decrease to $170,000 in value. Do you get it? If you purchase real estate below the median, you insulate yourself from steep market price drops. You continue to hold this property during the down economy while still earning income in the form of rent. With homes going back to the bank during recessions, rentals become even more popular during recessions, and rent prices on entry-level homes increase on average between $50 and $100 per month. So when a recession hits, you can buy more single-family real estate at better prices with lower interest rates while cashing in on higher cash flows. Here's a question. Are recessions harmful to real estate? In a few words, not as much as you might think. On average, real estate values only diminish in 2 out of every 5 recessions. Translation: just because the stock market takes a hit doesn't mean real estate will. Real estate prices decrease almost exclusively when there's too much supply of homes and not enough demand for purchase. This causes a bubble burst of inventory and inflated prices, leading to a correction. Another factor that helps protect real estate is the fact that investors buy property different than average homeowners. Investor property purchases are counter-cyclical. When everyone else is buying, they are selling. And when everyone else is selling, investors are buying. For example, during a recession, Fear is at an all-time high, and consumer confidence is at an ultra low, which leads people to sell their real estate at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. After the 2008 global financial crisis, I made my investors over $100 million in profits because we were buying when everybody was selling. Others were terrified to even enter the game during that time, but my strategy enabled me and my team to remain calm and even increase profits. When it comes to real estate, timing can be the difference between a massive ROI or losing money. For more on the best time to buy real estate, go to kriskrohn.com/timing, and I've got a special bonus called The 2 Best Times to Buy Real Estate. Real estate benefit number 6, passive investment. Reclaiming your time to live your ideal life. Besides compounding interest, the thing that made me really fall in love with real estate, my other favorite part about real estate investing is that it's passive as long as you pick the proper strategy. In other words, you don't need to be a landlord or take midnight phone calls or even talk to tenants unless you want to do those things. Some investors want this, but I certainly never did. You can outsource nearly every part of real estate ownership. All you're left with is cash flow and the maximum return on your most valuable asset. And by now you know what I'm talking about, your time. Let's take a look at passive investment in action. Real estate investment companies exist to make real estate investing passive and turnkey. After researching your best options, you should select a company with a track record for having facilitated thousands of high ROI deals in the best markets. Let's just say that they help you acquire 5 properties so that you can earn double-digit ROI. Here's what they're going to do. Number 1, help you with acquisition, which is researching, finding, and vetting the best deals. Number 2, helping you with the purchase. In other words, lining up financing with the top investment banks. Number 3, the rehab, coordinating any and all of the property repairs. Number 4, lining up property management, which is selecting vetted tenants and managing the day-to-day process. And finally, number 5, the exit strategy, assisting you in selling properties and doubling your portfolio every 5 years. If, for example, such a team helped you buy 5 properties, hopefully 5 years later, they help you sell them off and take those winnings on those 5 and turn it into 10 properties. And maybe 5 years later, turning it into 20 properties and then 40 and yada, yada. By now you start realizing, okay, this is how the rich really get wealthy. They're multiplying their portfolio.